your right hand.
Sure.
Do you swear that the testimony that you're about to provide this jury will be the truth and the whole truth under the pains and penalties of perjury?
Sir, yes, sir.
Have a seat and make yourself comfortable. There's some water in there.
Thank you.
How are you doing today, Mr. Badero?
All right.
Can you start by stating and spelling your full name for the record?
My name is Anthony Bodero, Anthony Bodero.
And sorry, we're just getting set up, Mr. Badero. I apologize.
It's okay. Take your time.
You're going to actually approach and just try to plug that back into it.
Sure. Go ahead. That's fine. I'm just going to step behind you for a minute there.
Sure.
Mr. Badero, what's your date of birth?
August 30th of 1973.
And how far did you go in school?
High school. 11th grade.
11th grade. What's the current city that you reside in?
Manchester, New Hampshire.
And how long have you lived here in Manchester?
Like 13, 14 years.
Mr. Badero, are you familiar with an area in Manchester called the Colonial Village Apartments?
Yes, sir.
And how are you familiar with that area?
I used to reside at the residence here.
Okay. And again, Mr. Badero, we're making a record, so I'm just going to ask, there's a little microphone in front of you. I'm just going to ask that you speak into that and as loud as you can.
I used to reside at Colonial Village.
How long did you live in Colonial Village for?
Lived there for like 4 months at one time, and then like another 4 or 5 months after that.
And what were the periods that you lived there? What years?
I lived there from July of 2019 to, I would say, I think it was March of the following year. Yes, March of 2020.
Okay. And who did you live there with in that period that you just mentioned, the July 2019 to March 2020?
I live with a friend of mine.
And what's your friend's name?
Her name is Tanya Clement.
And what were the circumstances? What was the arrangement that you had with Tanya, that living situation?
We would share the bills for the rent of the apartment.
While you were living there during that period that we're discussing, so not the later time, but the July to March, did you own a vehicle?
Yes, sir.
And can you tell these jurors what kind of vehicle you owned?
I believe it was a 2004 Audi S4 in blue.
Would you recognize that vehicle if you saw it today?
Of course.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes, you may.
So, Mr. Badero, I'm showing you what's been marked for identification as State's Exhibit 22.
Exactly.
Do you recognize that?
That's definitely my old car, yes.
And so you recognize it as your old car?
Yes.
I'm sorry, sir, I'm going to ask you, it's a big courtroom and
Just speak
everybody wants to
louder.
hear you, so
Okay.
please keep your voice up.
Yes, that was my vehicle.
Okay. Is this a fair and accurate representation of your vehicle? Is this
Yes.
what your vehicle looked like, in other words?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this point I move to strike the ID and mark as full State's Exhibit 22.
The objection?
May we approach?
Yes?
And Mr. Badero, you said you recognize this vehicle, that this is a fair and accurate
Yes, sir.
photograph of your vehicle.
Yes.
Is this what your vehicle looked like the last time you saw it?
Yes.
It is?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, at this point, I move to strike ID and mark as full State's Exhibit 22.
No objection.
All right, the ID is stricken, it's entered as a full exhibit.
And may I publish, Your Honor?
Yes, you may.
So, Mr. Badero, that exhibit that I just handed you, the photo of your car, I put it up on the screen behind you. Can you take a look at that for a moment? And can you tell these jurors what that image is of?
What the images of?
Yes.
My vehicle.
And I think you said the last time you saw it, that's what the vehicle looked like?
Yeah.
What
Yes.
happened to your vehicle after you left the Colonial Village apartments?
It was sitting for about 2 years at my in-laws.
Why was it sitting at your in-laws for 2
And
years?
I could not get it started.
Mr. Badero, at some point between when you left that vehicle for 2 years at your in-laws and today, did you consent to a search of that vehicle?
Yes.
And was that with the Manchester Police Department?
Yes.
Mr. Badero, I want to switch gears. Do you know someone named Adam Montgomery?
Yes.
And you can reposition yourself, that's fine. How do you know Mr. Montgomery?
I happened to meet him August of 2019.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes?
Mr. Badero, I'm showing you what's been admitted as State's Exhibit 101. Do you recognize the individual that's depicted in this photo?
Yes, sir.
And who do you recognize that to be?
As Adam Montgomery.
Your Honor, may I publish?
Yes, you may.
And Mr. Badero, is this the same Adam Montgomery that you
That's fine.
that you met in August of 2019?
Yes, sir.
How often would you interact with Mr. Montgomery back in 2019?
I saw him maybe every few days or something like that.
How about Kayla Montgomery? Do you know someone named Kayla Montgomery?
Yes, sir.
And how do you know her?
I happened to meet her in 2013.
2013?
Yes.
How did you meet the defendant in August of 2019?
I needed a ride to the Rockingham courthouse to dispute a driving without a license ticket, and I needed a ride, so I happened to call a friend of mine, and he didn't have his car, so he said that he was with a friend of his and that he would ask him if he can give me a ride. He called me back, told me that the guy said okay. Then him and Adam Montgomery came to pick me up to take me to court. And when they arrived with 3 children, with Harmony and the 2 boys.
And you mentioned Harmony and two boys. Did you see those three children after that event?
Yes.
Let's talk about when did you last see Harmony?
The last time I saw Harmony was the second and last time I ever saw her, and that was about 3 weeks to a month later after the August incident. I saw her with them where they resided at.
Mr. Badero, I want to switch gears with you again. Have you ever been convicted of a felony drug charge?
Yes, sir.
Were you in fact convicted of felony drug possession in 2014?
14. I think so, yes.
How about in 2016?
Yes.
How about in 2019?
No.
And Mr. Badero, did you provide testimony to the grand jury related to this case back in March of 2022? So March 21st of 2022.
I believe, yes, sir.
And do you remember being asked in that grand jury proceeding whether or not you sold drugs to the defendant back in 2019?
Yes, sir.
Did you provide an honest answer to that question?
No, I did not.
During that grand jury testimony, were you given any type of immunity before you were asked the questions
No.
about drugs? And after your testimony, after your grand jury testimony, did you agree to meet with investigators regarding the case?
Yes, sir.
And was that in September of 2022?
Sounds about right.
At that point, had you been provided any type of immunity regarding drug activity?
No, I don't think so.
Do you recall agreeing to meet with those investigators, signing a written document?
I did agree to meet with them, yes, with an attorney.
Did you have an understanding about how your statements could be used, whether they could be used against you?
Yes.
What was your understanding of that?
That they would not use it against me as long as I told the truth.
And you mentioned having an attorney.
Yes.
Is that attorney here with you today?
Yes, sir.
And regarding your testimony here today, have you been provided immunity based on that drug information?
Yes, sir.
Before testifying today, you were provided immunity.
Yes, sir.
Based on that, Mr. Badero, I want to ask you questions about your sale of drugs back in 2019. Specifically, back in 2019, did you sell drugs to the defendant, Adam Montgomery?
Yes, sir.
Did you sell drugs to Kayla Montgomery?
Yes, sir.
How often would you sell the defendant and Kayla drugs?
Whenever I had any available.
How frequently was that?
Not frequent.
Were you actively selling drugs back then?
When I did have, yes.
And how would they pay you when they would purchase those drugs?
They would either pay me with cash or they would sell me food stamps.
Let's talk about that.
Yes, sir.
What do you mean when you say they would sell you food stamps?
Well, I would give them half of whatever they gave me in food stamps.
And let me back up. What type of drugs were they buying from you back then?
Heroin and crack.
Mr. Badero, did the defendant, in this case, Adam Montgomery, did he ever sell drugs for you?
Negative, no.
Did you ever employ Mr. Montgomery to sell drugs for you?
No.
Did you ever hire him in any capacity?
No.
Mr. Badero, I want to turn your attention to Thanksgiving of 2019. Does that time frame stand out to you?
Yes, sir.
And can you tell these jurors why that stands out to you?
Because they approached me saying they had no place to live, and I let them stay in my vehicle.
And can you describe that arrangement where you let them stay in your vehicle?
Well, the reason I had them stay in the vehicle is because I was living with somebody else that it was their apartment, and there was no room for them to be there. So the only choice I had was to let them stay in my vehicle.
And do you recall the specific, let me back up. How many days did they stay in your vehicle
2
for?
days.
2 days.
Yes, sir.
Do you recall the specific days?
No, it was just after Thanksgiving weekend.
And Mr. Badero, who stayed in your vehicle?
Adam, Kayla, and the 2 boys.
Earlier you mentioned Adam's third child, Harmony.
Yes.
Where was Harmony during that time where you let them stay in their vehicle, in your vehicle?
I do not know.
Was she with them?
No.
Did you see her at any point during that period where they were staying in your vehicle?
No, sir.
And do you recall how they came to be living in your vehicle? What was? Can you tell the jurors what that conversation was like?
Well, from what I recall, they gave me a call and told me they had no place to go. They came to where I was staying at. I let them upstairs. We talked, and I told them, I was like, I could let you stay in my car, but I can't let you stay here because this is not my apartment. And that was the arrangement.
The car that you allowed them to stay in, was that the same car that I showed you an image of
Yes,
just
sir.
moments ago? Mr. Badero, back in late 2019, did you have a Facebook account?
Yes.
What was your Facebook name back then, if you can recall?
Anthony Tone Capone Bodero.
Anthony Tone, sorry?
Capone
Capone.
Bodero.
Is that your full name, or
No, that's just a street name.
Tone specifically, is that what you go by?
Well, they call me Tony.
Were you friends with the defendant on Facebook, the defendant in this case?
Yes, I believe so, yes.
Do you recall what his Facebook name was back then?
I believe it was his name, Adam Montgomery.
How often would you communicate back then, late 2019? How often would you communicate with the defendant?
I don't remember, sir.
How would you communicate with him?
Telephone mostly.
Did you communicate with him on Facebook at any point?
I don't recall, but I wouldn't doubt it.
So I want to talk about those 2 days when they were staying in your car. The defendant, Kayla, and their 2 sons. Did you take them anywhere during those 2 days?
No.
Do you think that seeing your Facebook messages might refresh your recollection regarding whether or not you took them somewhere?
I guess.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes, you may.
What do you show?
And I think you said this already, Judge, but may I approach the witness?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. So, Mr. Badero, I'm just handing you, and actually, sorry, if I can just have this. So, Mr. Badero, I'm showing you it's been marked for identification as State's Exhibit 107. I'm just going to ask that you look this document over, paying attention to this page.
I'm gonna read that.
To yourself.
The whole thing, or just this page?
That page to yourself, and then just look up to yourself.
I finished.
So, Mr. Badero, first let me ask, does that refresh your recollection regarding whether or not you drove the defendant?
To tell the truth, I don't even remember.
Okay. The item that you just reviewed, what do you understand that to be?
Guess they must have reached out to me. They needed to go to the clinic. They asked for a ride, and I guess I must have told them, give me 20 minutes. I just woke up, and I guess I must have took them to the clinic.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Is that a conversation between yourself and the defendant?
I don't even remember. It could have been with Adam or Kayla.
Okay. Mr. Badero, as part of your involvement with this case, did you provide consent for officers to search your Facebook account?
Yes.
Mr. Badero, during that 2-day period where the defendant slept in your car, did you allow him to drive your vehicle at all?
I don't think so. I wouldn't let nobody drive my car.
And seeing those messages, does that refresh your recollection at all regarding whether or not you took them to the methadone clinic?
Does not, sir.
And do you recall specifically having those communications with the defendant?
No, I do not.
Mr. Badero, when the Montgomery stayed in your vehicle, how often would you see them?
Not much.
What does not much mean?
Like, I was upstairs in my apartment with my wife, and I hardly went outside.
Mr. Badero, do you recall sitting down with investigators and talking to them about that period of time?
Yes.
Do you recall telling them specifically that you rarely saw the defendant and Kayla during that period?
I rarely saw them. I wasn't checking on them.
Were you aware of their living situation prior to them living in your car?
Not sure. Just I know they told me they had no place to go, and that's why I let them stay in the car.
And at that time, were you aware of where they had been living immediately before then?
I don't recall.
Do you recall whether they were staying in their own vehicle prior to using yours?
No, I don't.
Those rare times that you would see them, how would you see them during that period?
They would come see me. After I served them, they would leave.
And when you say they would come see me, is that the defendant and Kayla, or is that someone else?
They either came together or separate.
Do you recall telling those investigators that they were always together?
Yeah, they were always together.
During those 2 evenings, or those 2 days that you allowed them to stay in your vehicle, did something happen to your vehicle during that time?
Yes. The first night, I guess, from what they told me, Kayla didn't know how to drive a manual transmission car. She turned it on for the heat, and it killed the battery. And I guess when he woke up, he went somewhere, supposedly from what they said, he went somewhere in the middle of the night to get a portable car charger. So by the time the next day when I came out, they already had the car started. So I don't know I wasn't around, so I don't know.
Mr. Badero, do you recall specifically who told you that information about Kayla starting the car?
They were both telling me. They were both together.
Do you recall telling investigators that the defendant actually gave you that information?
No.
They were both together when you learned it.
Well, yeah, they were both together.
And I'm sorry, you said that earlier. They were always together.
Yes. Both, yeah.
Did you provide them any items during their two days in your vehicle?
Yes.
Can you tell the jurors what you gave them?
I gave them leftover Thanksgiving dinner one night, and then the following day, I bought 2 pies from Domino's Pizza, and I gave them a pie, and I still with a pie for me and my wife.
Mr. Badero, if I can have just a moment. So just brief follow-up, Mr. Badero. You mentioned seeing where the defendant resided. Can you tell the jurors where that was?
I always forget the name of this where it's at, but I went there one time to bring them some food.
Okay. Was it a house, an apartment, something
Yes,
else?
it was a house.
How would you describe that house?
It was a small little house.
And would that have been, what time of year was that?
That was in September 2019.
September 2019?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
Yes?
Mr. Badero, would you recognize that house if you saw it again today?
Yes.
Showing you what's been published, admitted and published as State's Exhibit 1.
That's it.
And when you say, yeah, that's it, what do you recognize that to be?
I reckon that to be the house where they were residing in.
That house at Gilbert Street.
Yes, I believe that's the name of the street.
How many times did you go to this house on Gilbert Street?
I think maybe, I don't even remember the one time, but it could have been twice. But I remember only one time. I didn't go visit them, so I don't know.
Thank you, Mr. Badero. No further questions, Your Honor. I pass the witness.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mr. Badero. My name is Caroline Smith. How are you?
All right, good afternoon.
A little bit nervous?
Always.
Okay. And I think your first introduction to this case was when marshals came to speak to you
Yes,
in January of 2022.
yes.
And you wanted nothing to do with this case, right?
Well, I didn't know anything about the case, so.
Yeah, except for what you read in the paper, right?
Except for what the officers told me.
Okay. And you said, I've got no involvement with anything involving a child, right?
Exactly.
And
Yes, yes.
no way, right?
No,
Okay. And you got subpoenaed to the grand jury,
yes,
and they had you swear an oath there to tell the truth, right?
yes,
And they gave you some ground rules about your testimony at the grand jury, right?
what you mean ground rules?
Okay. Well, they told you that you could refuse to answer a question if it would incriminate you, right?
No, you didn't tell me that.
They told you you had the right to be represented by an attorney, right?
Yes,
and that you had the right to refuse any answer in the grand jury, but only if that answer would incriminate you. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that, no.
Okay. Let me show you a copy of a transcript of your grand jury, okay?
Sure?
So first of all, that was a long time ago, right?
Yes.
And does March 21 of 2022 sound about right?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to show you a copy of, you can see on the outside, grand jury proceedings, right?
Yes.
About the disappearance of Harmony Montgomery.
Yes.
And you were sworn in at the beginning of the grand jury, right?
Yes.
And I want you to go through and I'm going to take you from the bottom of page 3 into page 4 and ask you to read that to yourself, okay? And then I'm going to ask you a question.
You said bottom of page 3?
Yep. Into page 4.
Where the bottom? From here? From
Sure,
here?
sure. Why don't you do there? Does that refresh your recollection?
No.
Okay. In the transcript to the grand jury, well, while you were in the grand jury, you were advised that you had the right to refuse to answer a question if it might incriminate you, right?
From what it says here, yes, I guess. I just don't remember.
Okay, that's fine. And it says that, yes, you understood, right?
Yes.
So, you also said you lied to the grand jury, right?
Yes.
Okay. And being advised that you had the right to refuse to answer a question or you had the right to an attorney, you chose to lie under oath.
I didn't know that I was going to need an attorney,
Okay.
so I agreed to answer their questions.
So when the question came up to something that would incriminate you, you chose to lie rather than ask for an attorney, right?
I got scared, and I didn't think about what they told me about asking for an attorney.
Sure, sure. And you were scared because they thought you had information about Harmony, right?
Yes,
And you didn't want anything to do with this, right?
of course.
You didn't want to be implicated in this in any way at all, right?
No.
Okay. So, I'm going to switch gears a little bit here. You talked about meeting Adam because you needed a ride to court.
Yes.
And you didn't have a license that day, right?
No.
Have you ever had a license?
No.
You did not have a license in November of 2019 then, right?
No.
If you've never had one, you
I've
didn't
never
have
had
one.
one, exactly.
Excuse me, and you didn't have one in December of 2019?
No.
Okay. And you talked about your prior convictions, and one of the prior convictions I think that you said was possession of a controlled drug from 2018.
Yes.
And that was actually possession with intent to sell, right? Or dispense.
I guess. I don't remember. I don't recall.
Okay. If I showed you a copy of the record of that conviction, would that help refresh your recollection?
Maybe.
Okay. I'm going to show you what is a certified copy of a conviction returned from Superior Court state prison sentence for Anthony Badero, right?
Yes.
And January 12, 2018,
That's when I was released.
that was the day you were sentenced. Well, actually, okay.
I got released as well.
Yeah, because you were actually in jail pre-trial, and the day you got sentenced, you got a suspended sentence, and they released you.
All I know is they let me go.
Okay. And so you got a sentence of 3 to 6 years with all but 92 days suspended. Does that sound right?
No. I believe it was the 92 whatever days time served, and then suspended time after.
Right. Okay. I may have said it wrong because I
You
have
did.
gotten a little bit tired.
Okay.
So it was 3 to 6 years as a sentence. All of that was suspended except for the 92 days that you had already served.
Yes.
So when you mean you got released, you were held on bail before the conviction, and the day you got sentenced, you were let out.
Well, they picked me up from a state prison. I did a bit in a state prison. They picked me up. I did 92 days here in Valley Street, and then I got released.
Gotcha. Okay. And so then you had a suspended sentence hanging over your head of
Yes.
3 to 6 minus that 92 days.
I guess, yes.
Okay. And that was suspended for 3 years.
Yes.
Okay. And then in November 22nd, 2019, you got another drug charge.
No.
Drug conviction, sorry.
No. Say that again? When?
November 22nd, 2019, you got
Impossible.
convicted on another charge.
No.
Okay.
May we approach?
Yes.
That's wrong.
Go ahead, Attorney Smith, go ahead.
So I think I was going to show you another certified copy of another conviction, okay?
Yes.
I can show you return from Superior Court, Anthony Badero, sentence November 22nd, 2019.
Sorry, I don't know anything about that. The last time I did time for drugs I came home in 2018.
Sure, because on this one you got a total 2 to 4 suspended. Do you remember that?
No, I don't.
Okay. And your attorney was Attorney Sheehan?
Yeah, that was from the old case. That's not. I have it confused.
Okay.
Can't be 2019 because I never got caught with drugs or anything after 2018.
Okay, so let's take a look at this. On June 24, 2019, you were driving without a valid license, right?
That, yes.
And while you were driving without a valid license, they found drugs in your car.
No.
Basis?
No.
So, and I've moved to introduce this as the next exhibit, and I don't know where we are. Jay? Mr. Badera?
Yes.
Okay. By the way, you have some stuff here that maybe we'll take away because I'll focus on something else now, okay?
No problem.
So I have in front of me what's been marked as a full exhibit, a certified copy of your conviction from November 22nd, 2019. And we went over that first page.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to go over the second page. And that second page is the sentence that you got on that conviction, right?
I see what you have there, but that's not what it was for. Got caught driving without a license.
Okay. And you got, according to this document, you got a sentence of 2 to 4 years, suspended for 3 years, right?
Yes.
That means that 2 to 4 years you don't spend in jail or prison, it hangs over your head for 3 years.
Yes.
with conditions that you stay arrest-free and commit no new crimes and stuff like that, right?
Yes.
And another condition was that you got a LADAC evaluation and within 60 days provide proof to the state, right?
What's LADAC?
Drug and alcohol evaluation. Do you remember that?
Kind of.
Okay. So now we're going to go to the actual charge that was based on. And that's the indictment. You've seen indictments, right?
Yes.
And the indictment is for activities that you did on or about June 24, 2019. Is that what it says?
Yes.
And the activity that you did was possession of a controlled drug. Is that right?
That's what it says.
And this was in County of Rockingham, right?
Yes.
And it was Superior Court, right?
I guess, yes.
Like this court, Superior.
Of course.
Okay. And then you also had with that a misdemeanor for driving after revocation
Okay.
with a sentence on the same day.
That's what it says.
Okay. And your sentence for that was 12 months in the House of Correction, all suspended for 3 years, right?
Okay.
Meaning that you got another year hanging over your head for that 3 years, right?
Yes.
And one of the conditions here was that you not drive until you are properly licensed.
Yes.
So you got arrested for both of those things at the same time, right?
All I recall is getting arrested for driving without a license. No
Okay.
drug charges.
And so that the jury recognizes it when they see it later, if I may just sort of show
Yes, you
that.
may.
And, Your Honor, just to clarify, the defense is asking IDB strictly needs to be marked full if the state has no objection.
Oh, I thought it went in as full.
It did at the bench conference. I indicated that it was full, so.
So November 22nd, you don't recall it now, but you didn't have a license then, right?
No.
And it sounds like you're saying today you were selling drugs in November?
I don't recall.
Selling drugs in December of
I don't
2019?
recall.
Didn't you say on direct that you sold some to Adam and Kayla?
I have, yes.
Okay, so you were still selling drugs in December.
I don't recall.
So when you were telling the state that you sold drugs to Kayla and Adam, are you saying that was not in December?
I'm not saying that.
When you said that, you weren't necessarily talking about December of 2019 when you told the state you were selling them drugs.
Say that, repeat that?
Okay. Were you selling them drugs around the time that they stayed in your Audi?
I don't think, no. I don't,
Okay.
not that weekend. I can't say I sold them drugs that weekend. No, I know I didn't sell them drugs that weekend.
You know you didn't sell drugs that weekend.
No.
You can remember that clearly.
I'm pretty sure I remember that.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's talk about those food stamps. Those food stamps, didn't that, they sell you some food stamps when they were in Kayla's mother's home?
I don't know where they were at. I just bought the food stamps.
Okay. How about when they were at the Fit Shelter? Okay.
I probably did. I don't know where they were at I didn't go, I don't remember where I went to see them for them to give me the card.
Okay. Your Audi had a clutch, right?
Yes.
And the problem with the clutch, if somebody turns on the battery without turning on the car, the battery just runs down.
Yes.
And otherwise, you have to put in the clutch and have it in neutral or whatever and turn it on and keep it in neutral. And then it can run for a long time and the heat stays on.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And Kayla didn't seem to know that and the car broke down.
Yes.
Well, the car battery died.
Battery died.
Okay. And, okay. You said that the picture of your car was in this same condition and it states exhibit for ID 22. Is it stricken? It's fine. I would agree if it wasn't. Was in the same condition as the last time you saw it, right?
Yes.
Because the last time you saw it, it had been sitting for a while.
It was worse. It was worse.
Okay. But when you had it at Colonial Village, it was in good condition.
Yes.
It was in real good condition.
Very good condition.
And you like to drive it around.
I mean, I drove it, yes, not to drive around.
Okay. And you kept it in good condition.
Yes.
You took care of it, right?
Yes.
And in November, late November, you had just been convicted of a crime. You had a suspended sentence on your head, and you didn't want to be caught driving that car without a license again, right?
True.
So you had other people help you drive.
Sometimes.
Okay. Adam was one of those other people.
Yeah, he has driven the car, yeah.
Okay. And Adam knew how to drive a clutch, right?
Yes.
Okay. Because he, and your clutch, because he had driven that car.
Mhm.
I think you said on direct that you saw Harmony twice at Guilford Avenue?
No, one time at Guilford Avenue.
And what was the other time?
Before that, the day he took me to court in August.
Oh, so she was in the car.
Yes.
Okay. And with the boys.
Yes.
And at Guilford Avenue, she was there and playing with the boys.
Yes.
And you said that Kayla and Adam needed a place to stay Thanksgiving weekend?
Yes.
And when they came and told you that they needed a place to stay, you said that you would let them stay in your car for 2 nights.
I didn't specifically say 2 nights. I said
Okay.
they can stay in my vehicle, but they happen to only stay 2 nights.
Okay.
2 days, 2 whole days.
Okay. And one of those nights, it ran out, the battery got drained.
From what they say, the first night, yes.
Okay. And you are saying that you did not go down and see them sort of squatting in the parking lot at Colonial Village
No.
in their Sebring.
No, I did not.
And you are saying that you did not go down on a daily or every other day basis to connect with the family and see Harmony and wave to her.
No.
And you are saying that Harmony did not wave to you during that time.
I didn't. They didn't have Harmony with them.
Pardon?
They did not have Harmony with them
Okay. When?
when they came to see me.
On those 2 days or before those 2 days?
It depends when you're talking about.
Okay. Did you ever, are you saying you did sometimes go down to the car to see them?
I'm pretty sure I went down a couple of times each day,
Okay. Okay.
but each time they did not have the girl with them. It was
Okay.
only the boys.
And when you were questioned by the police, they actually played a recording of Kayla's statement, right?
Yes.
And they played a recording of Kayla talking about
approach. Objections here.
So they played a section of Kayla's statement, and you got pretty upset with that, right?
I guess.
Got pretty upset with what you were hearing.
I guess, yes.
And you said that you never saw Harmony,
I never did.
and that you didn't go down there
Let's
daily.
go. When did I not see Harmony? You're just saying I didn't see Harmony, but where? When?
At the Colonial Village.
No.
And that you didn't go down to the car on a daily basis. Right.
Well, 2 days they stood in the car. I went down at least a couple of times each day.
For 2 days, you went down a couple of times
At least
each
a
day?
couple of times, yes.
Those 2 days?
Those 2 days.
Okay. And you're saying you never waved to Harmony,
Never.
never waved to the boys?
Overruled.
I'm telling you, she wasn't in the car. How can I wave to someone that's not in the car?
Did you wave to the boys?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did, yeah.
Okay.
The boys loved me.
So you would when you would go down there, you would see the boys and wave.
Of course.
And you want to have nothing to do with this investigation or Harmony, right?
It's not the way you're making it sound. I want to help you guys.
Who?
The prosecution helped find who killed that little girl.
Okay, so one of the things before they stayed in your car was you drove Adam and Kayla and the kids to get clothes out of their broken down car?
I don't recall that. I don't think I ever did that. I'm not sure, but I don't recall I ever did that.
Okay.
Why would I? No. I wouldn't stuff my car with anything. Let's put it like that.
You wouldn't know what?
I would not stuff my car with a whole bunch of furniture or bags or anything like that.
Okay, so bags that were from a car that people had lived in for 7 days, you never got them and packed them into your car?
I don't recall ever doing that. No, I do not.
And so you don't recall taking Adam or Kayla or Adam and Kayla or Adam and Kayla and the boys?
No matter how you put it, I don't recall.
Okay. And the food that you brought them, you said Thanksgiving leftovers, right?
Yes.
And then pizza.
Yes.
And Thanksgiving, if you had them in your car for around the 8th, Thanksgiving was over a week before, right?
Well, of course, that would be right.
Okay. Thanksgiving was about 10 days before that, right?
I guess. I don't know what you're talking about.
And actually, you gave the family Thanksgiving leftovers when they first came to Colonial Village in the Sebring.
No.
You didn't give them?
There was no Sebring.
Okay.
They stood in my car. If they had their Sebring, they would have stood in their own car, wouldn't you think?
Okay. And you're saying that they did not park out in Colonial Village for 10 days prior to living in your Sebring?
I don't own a Sebring, and if they did bring the car to the parking lot, then I didn't know that either.
Okay.
They telling me they have no place to live. I let them stay in my car 2 days. That's
And
all they stood. They left.
I do want to correct. I did say Sebring and I meant the Audi.
Okay.
So you're saying that you did not see the Sebring in Colonial Village for the 10 days leading up to when they stayed in your Audi?
I didn't see the car, no.
Okay. You said that the boys loved you. Had
Yes,
you
they
seen the boys
I have
for
not
more
seen-
than those 2 times before?
Before and after, yes.
Before?
Yeah.
When did you see the boys before?
I saw
they stayed?
Adam came to see me one time with the oldest one.
Pardon?
Adam came to see me one time with the oldest one.
Okay. And how about the others?
I guess the other one, they were with Kayla, I guess.
Okay. But I'm asking, so now that's 3 times.
No, that's
that
not 3
you-
times I saw Harmony. No. Don't
Okay.
get it confused.
I'm not.
I only saw her 2 times.
I'm backing up.
Okay.
Okay. First time you saw Harmony, she was with her brothers.
Yes.
Second time you saw Harmony, she was with her brothers.
Yes.
You're talking about another time that you see the brother but not Harmony.
Yes.
How many other times did you see that brother?
Plenty of times.
When?
Throughout the whole time I knew them.
Okay. Did you see the boy prior, more than those 3 times that we're talking about?
But when are you referring to? Before Harmony went missing or after Harmony went missing?
I'm trying to get there. Before the 8th, when they stayed in your Audi, had you seen the son more than 3 times?
Of course.
When?
I can't tell you exactly when, but I've seen the boys with them.
In the 10 days prior to staying in the Audi, you saw the boys with them?
I can't tell you exactly how many days prior to the day I let them stay in the car, but I did see them. Yeah,
Okay.
I seen the boys,
Okay.
not the boys. Let me correct that. The boy. There was only one boy with him.
And what circumstance did you see that boy? Was Kayla coming up to see you and bringing her son with her?
No, Adam came to see me with the boy.
Okay, so Adam would come up to see you and he'd bring his son.
Yeah.
Okay. And did they ever come in to use the bathroom or maybe clean up their kids?
No.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Badera.
You're welcome.
Mr. Badera, what's your involvement been like with the legal system? How
Been very bad, sir. I'm not gonna lie.
Attorney Smith was just asking you about this time that the defendant came to see you with his oldest son.
Yes.
Do you recall when that was?
Don't recall exactly when, but it was before Thanksgiving.
Before Thanksgiving.
Before Thanksgiving, yeah.
You said that the 2 days they were staying in your car, that you remember that clearly, that you didn't sell drugs to them. You were very clear on that. Why is that?
Because it's like it's a family weekend. Like I don't recall selling them drugs that weekend. I don't even recall me having drugs.
Mr. Badera, let me ask you this. How many times have you allowed a family to stay in your vehicle?
I never have. That was the first time.
Was that the only time?
First and only time, yes.
Does that stand out to you?
Well, I remember, yeah.
The defense asked you about letting people drive your car. You didn't have a license, is my understanding. Is that right?
Yes.
And the defense attorney asked about letting people drive your car. I want to follow up on that. You said that you'd occasionally allow folks to drive for you.
Not really. I would drive myself. I ain't gonna lie. I didn't have a license, but I would drive myself.
Do you recall telling investigators that I didn't let anyone drive my car, I didn't let them drive it? Do you recall telling investigators that?
I'm pretty sure I did, yeah.
The them that you were referring to, is that the defendant and Kayla?
But I wouldn't lend them my car if that's what they were. I don't know what y'all really trying to say by that. But I would never have lent them my car. Yeah, I recall a time he drove me somewhere in my own car. Yes, but I've never lent him my car to just be on their own and drive my car.
And the time that you're talking about where you lent him your car and let him drive you somewhere, when was that?
I don't even recall, sir.
Do you recall whether there was snow on the ground, whether it was hot or warm outside?
I don't remember any of that.
You mentioned seeing the two boys
Yes.
and them waving at you, you waving back. Were you referring to the 2 days that they were staying in that the boys were staying in your vehicle, or was that some other time?
Actually, that was some other time. I was just, whenever they saw me, they waved to me. They said hi. I would grab them, hug them. I can't recall every time they said they waved to me. That's what all kids do. They say hi.
Thank you, Mr. Federo. No additional questions from me.
So Adam did drive you around in your car, but you don't recall exactly when.
Of course, because it wasn't on a regular basis.
But it was more than once.
I can't even say that. I don't even recall that. I'm thinking it was only one time. So.
Okay. And when you interacted with the boys, it wasn't just waving. I think you'd say that they came up and they would hug you.
Yes.
So it wasn't just a wave from afar. If the kids were around, you came up to them and interacted.
All the time.
Okay. Oh. No further questions.
You may sit down.